This is The Outlook, LGBTI news, views and culture, brought to you by NewsHub. Welcome to The Outlook. I'm Dan Lake. Joining us this week is Finn Hogan. He's going to be talking to us about gamers. Stephen Foote is giving us an update on the Israel Folau situation. And James Mustapic is a comedian and he's going to make jokes and make us laugh. So, as you all know, anyone who has listened to this podcast will know that I particularly am pretty passionate about this and what this person has to say about homosexuals. Stephen, what's the latest? What's happening with him?
Well, Dan, good to be here again. I think I've established myself a little niche here as the expert on all gay, homosexual angle sports topics, so I'm happy to be here again. But yeah, 2-day code of conduct meeting over the weekend. Unfortunately, we didn't get much out of that other than the sense that there's going to be a lot more to come from this. We're not looking at probably days for a decision. What they're thinking is it's going to be more like a matter of weeks or months. We did hear from 3 witnesses. Michael Cheika, Raiden Castle, who's the CEO of Rugby Australia, and also Folau himself got on the stand. Essentially, his lawyers are arguing that he's merely replicating what's being said in the Bible. Right. So, he's not at fault there, whereas Rugby Australia is saying, hey, that's completely at odds with what we've agreed to do as a result of what you did last year with your anti-gay sentiments. As it stands, they're on a break coming back tomorrow, which is Tuesday at the time of recording. But don't expect to get any sort of definitive answer on it anytime soon. We have had a few people past and present, big names like Ian Roberts, who was the first NRL player to ever actually come out of the closet way back in 1995. He had this to say about the matter.
And I'll say it to the camera now. I mean, I kind of I do feel sorry for Israel. But there are consequences to your actions and reactions, and it's these types of comments and these off-the-cuff remarks. When you have young people and vulnerable people, kids in the suburbs who are dealing with their sexuality, confused, not knowing how to deal with it, these types of remarks can and do push people over the edge.
So yeah, as you can see,
and he was getting quite emotional saying it too.
Yeah, I mean, the impact of what Folau is saying goes way beyond, obviously, the sports field. And interesting that he mentioned those at-risk kids in the Sydney suburbs. Obviously, a lot of them struggle with their own sexuality when they're in that sort of really masculine-driven environment, which is, Redfern, those sorts of areas, which are really heavily sort of, masculine-dominated. That it is kind of tough for some of these kids to sort of wrestle with their dealings, and obviously made it a lot more difficult when you're seeing these guys who you're looking up to as your heroes, spouting all sorts of stuff. So,
and I can just imagine they're sitting at home, they're watching the rugby. Their dad's like, oh, go Folau. And they're like, well, shit, I'm never coming out then, am I? Just little things like that are going to make such a huge difference. He was also offered, though, $1 million to bugger off, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Sorry, I should have mentioned that, shouldn't I? He was offered a settlement, $1 million, which was about a quarter of his 4-year deal, which I believe he's 2 years through, to just to let it all go and, hey, let's just part ways. But he wasn't willing to take that, so the arbitration continues, which is why we're looking at...
Do you think that's because he wants more?
Yeah, I mean, if he is eventually forced out, I'd say he will want more.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even if he does come back, there's been talk of there could be some sort of player revolt, a mutiny.
Totally. And sponsors.
There are a lot of the Polynesian players who are sort of in the similar, they're Christians as well, who can kind of sympathise with where Folau's coming from, but obviously, wouldn't spout their beliefs in such an insensitive sort of manner. So, and both ways really. So they could boycott, and the other way around. There are players who, like David Pocock, who's been like a really outspoken advocate for gay rights, who may go the other way, and it's going to be an awkward training room, isn't it? When, like we said last week, when you've got a guy like that around.
But also Qantas would walk. I'm pretty sure Qantas, the main sponsor, have said they're out of there if he's on the team.
Yeah, it's huge implication.
The CEO of Qantas is a very openly gay man, and he would not want a bar of it.
Also big, and Michael Cheika, the coach, has said he's not going to pick him, which is a pretty big statement when you consider that
World
he's
Cup,
been their best player for 3 or 4 years, and he is their most integral player going into this World Cup later this year. So, interesting times. But yeah, I mean, we may be waiting a little while yet before we see what happens. But
it's going to go on and on and on and on and on and on. Does he still get paid for as long as, is he still on contract?
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, he's been still down for the Waratahs, so he's probably still getting a Super Rugby contract.
Yeah.
But whether or not there's some sort of adjustment made pending the actual outcome of all this, I'm not too sure. Interesting that we heard from a netball player who has spent a bit of time with Maria Folau last week, coming out and saying that she, a lesbian who had been married, and said that Maria had openly sort of come to her with congratulations and well wishes for her wedding, which seems very at odds with what Israel's beliefs are.
But also because she was on Instagram supporting him at the last year, saying, I'm all for what he's saying. So what a mess.
I know, it is a little bit that way, isn't it? But another little something sort of on the homosexual variety in sports last week, I guess we could say. James Faulkner.
Gays in sports.
What a bizarre story.
Wow.
So we had an Instagram post from him with his mother and what he initially described as his boyfriend with a hashtag together for 5 years, which led to a ton of stories saying, hey, we've got our first openly gay Australian cricketer.
He's posted on Instagram a photo of his boyfriend Rob.
It really is genuinely a landmark moment.
We have checked them, and it stacks up, and it's all over the news there, but it looks good.
A matter of an hours later, he's reneged. He's edited his Instagram posts. We've got a statement from Cricket Australia saying, no, he was just playing around. That's not a joke. He's not joking about it. That's not something we joke about.
They're just roommates.
They're just roommates, and it's just a way for him to. It's just a term of endearment almost for his old roommate. And I want to know from you guys. I mean, where does it rank on the homophobia scale? Well, does it register at all?
If I find it difficult to believe that he didn't know what he was doing when he did it. So he knew there was either going to be a reaction or he was making a joke that he really didn't think through. I wouldn't say it's overly offensive. It's just a bit rude and a bit of a dick move.
It's a bit silly, isn't it?
But then having the defence that they're just roommates almost makes me think that it was probably true in the first place. And he's just, backtracking going, should probably tell some other people before I tell Instagram. But, that was my thoughts on it.
Yeah. No offence taken then?
No, not really.
I think it's a wee bit homophobic. But, not major. But to be making a joke that you are gay when you're not, like, oh, haha, it's funny that I don't know.
There's no stakes for you. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, it doesn't matter to him making that joke.
It's almost trivialising it, isn't it?
It is, actually, If he was joking, that's the word. He was trivialising it. I can imagine if he came to Eden Park, there might be a few things being yelled out.
I don't know if he's good enough to play for Australia anymore, actually, to be honest.
I thought they were scraping the barrel these days.
It prompted quite a few little Google searches. We found sort of images with his girlfriend from various cricket awards shows in the last couple of years. So whether or not that's much evidence, take it as you will.
We'll see. Thanks so much for the update.
Always happy to be here, guys.
I love the Venn diagram we've got going right now of like, there's someone out there just being like, where do I go for my gaming, my sports, my Rainbow Issues content? And they're just having like the best day of their life when this comes.
So we should obviously hear about your podcast as well.
Oh, should we? Obviously, yes, of course we should. Yeah, the Fight Club podcast. Find it where you can find this fantastic podcast. We got Robert Whittaker, Kiwi Australian UFC fighter, on the show this week. Great 40-minute sit down with him. So tune in, subscribe, do all that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cheers, boys.
Speaking of podcasts from the News Hub, gaming. What's yours? Yours is called
NerdsPlus.
NerdsPlus. It used to be called something else.
It used to be called Nerds Hub, which is a much stronger pun, and then the powers that be forced us to not use that name. So I'm just going to go on record.
Those powers.
Oh, those powers, always letting us down. But yeah, so there was just a little that I wanted to chat to you guys about. So Ubisoft, makers of the Assassin's Creed franchise, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, recently got into some PR hot water because they let through in their latest game, Division 2, a piece of background art with the word faggot, very thinly veiled on it.
Wow.
So it was an artwork on a building of a police officer messily eating a donut, and very thinly veiled on his badge was faggot. And that was
so not only offending police officers by saying all they do is eat donuts, by writing faggot on there as well.
Exactly. God. But I think it was also some thinly veiled, some sexual connotations, etc., etc., etc. And the defence by some people has been like, oh, well, no, they were trying to satirise police. And it's like, well, there's lots of ways to satirise police without resorting to slurs, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's objectively a crap thing to put into your video game, obviously, but I think it's particularly interesting because Ubisoft have made bank and earned some good PR by saying that they are the company that produces games that are inclusive. So they, in a lot of their Assassin's Creed games, well, at least the most recent one, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you could choose to pursue a homosexual relationship as one of the main characters.
Wow.
Cool, great. But what they shot themselves in the foot on this one as well, because they allowed you to do that. And so you could play through the whole game, pursue your homosexual relationship, settle down with your partner. But then they released sort of an epilogue chapter to the game, which you had to pay for, obviously.
Yeah.
And in that epilogue chapter, they ignored whatever decision you'd made in the main game and forced you into a heterosexual relationship with a child.
An arranged marriage.
Oh. Yeah, and so it was just this interesting thing of them being like, oh yes, we're going to give you the illusion of this choice, and then just immediately take that away from you. And someone described it as hetconning instead of retconning, which I really liked. I was like, tight pun. But I just think that kind of speaks to the broader issue in the industry of gaming is now the most profitable form of entertainment on the planet. It's worth over $200 billion.
Yeah.
And there's a huge amount of money in it, and therefore the cynical sort of executive business side of things saying, okay, now we need to at least be seen to be showing diversity and so that we can attract different markets. And what I think is frustrating about that for me is that I think gaming is actually really special and kind of allows you to have really interesting conversations because it's an active medium instead of a passive one.
Yeah.
So a film, you're just being presented with different perspectives, but with a game, you're forced to engage with them.
Yeah.
So you actually have to play as this person. You actually have to interact with people. And so there's it's a lot more engaging that way, and it kind of forces you to think differently. And so, like, for example, when I was 12, one of my first experiences of rejection was trying to pursue a woman in Knights of the Old Republic. Again, I cannot stress how cool I am. Like, I was pursuing a Jedi in Knights of the Old Republic, a romantic relationship with her, and then she rejected me and was like, "No, I'm actually just I'm not into men." And I then went on to be rejected by many real-life women. But that was my first sort of experience of being like, oh, wow, that there's a female character is written into this game, and she's rejecting the advances of my main character, male character, because she's a lesbian. And that was sort of my first engagement with that idea.
And is that character made by the game, or is it someone else playing that character?
No, that's made by the game. And
right.
so that's made by the writers of the game. That's made by a company called BioWare, who are... like Ubisoft, have gotten a lot of cred in the industry for being the inclusive ones, but I think they do it a lot better than Ubisoft does.
Right.
But I think the BioWare case is particularly interesting because they've exactly like you say, they've written that character. It's not a character playing that, and I think that's a much bolder decision, right? I think the way that the video game industry gets around this issue sometimes is saying, hey, we're giving you the choice of making your character gay. What I think would be more interesting would be if they made a main character that just was gay and you didn't have a choice. Because a gay gamers, when they're playing games, they don't get a choice. They have to play a straight dude.
Yeah.
They never get a choice. The archetypal main character of video games is so ludicrously bland. It's this 25 to 45-year-old brunette with a little bit of stubble. Like, it gets so grand there. It's like they have a certain amount of stubble.
I feel like you're describing yourself. Yeah.
Hey! All right, I feel personally attacked. They've always lost their wife or their girlfriend or their child. They're always just brooding and generically attractive. And I just think it'd be a lot more interesting if video game developers forced players into new perspectives instead of just kind of hiding behind the thing of, oh, well, if you wanna, you can go pursue a girl or a guy or whoever you want to in this game. And because when you look at things that represent just more broad issues of representation, like at E3, which is the biggest gaming convention in the world, only 8% of characters, playable main protagonists, were female. And the percentage, they don't even have numbers for what percentages were gay, because there's about 2. I can tell you right now, there's about 2 in the entire canon of gaming.
Wow.
And so I think that's sort of the broader structural thing. Like, and again, you've got things like Blizzard. So Blizzard are the creators of World of Warcraft. And they make a game called Overwatch, which is one of the biggest games on the planet. And their central sort of poster character for that game is a character called Tracer. And they got a lot of props for coming out and saying, hey, Tracer's gay. Great, awesome, that's a cool thing to do. But the way they did that was by writing a separate comic that you could buy and talking about her sexuality and that. But it's not in the main game.
No.
So that's just this easy way to get around these things of having the image of inclusivity without ever actually putting any skin in the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of my problem with the video game industry right now, is it seems like you're just trying to have it both ways.
Yeah, you're trying to look good to the community. I wonder if... because I think gaming's quite popular in the gay community. I wonder if it is that kind of escapism where you get to be someone else, particularly from a young age, where you just get to jump on a game and disappear for a while.
And I totally get that. And even coming from a heterosexual perspective, it's really interesting picking up a game and being like, well, I'll play as a woman. And obviously it's not giving you the authentic female experience. But
gaming's got a bit further to go before you can experience that.
But it is that you can be anyone that you want to, and it at least forces you to start having the thoughts of, oh wow, like this. Even just seeing it from that sort of simulated perspective, at least encourages a little bit more empathy in people. I like to think
things have gone quite far since the old Sims days.
Oh my God, The Sims is still amazing, all right? But Sims is like that one game.
Is it still going?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like the Simpsons of the gaming world.
Sims is that one place where everyone can bond over killing children. Like, it's like this weird thing that everyone has where they're just like, hey, did you have like an elaborate torture farm in Sims? Oh my God, I absolutely did. Like, the amount of, just Google at any point, darkest Sims situations.
Okay.
Like, it's an entire internet subculture of, it's this weird thing of, you like building a house, right? You like building this little family, and then you're just like getting your worst urges out in there. It speaks to some kind of inner darkness in humanity, Sims. Like, have you guys played Sims?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Surely you must have killed Sims in creative ways.
You take the ladder out of the pool.
That's a classic, yeah.
Just burn it down, remove a door from a house, and then
set fire to it.
Yeah.
It just speaks to there's something in us that we can get out through Sims, you know? Like,
so there'll be a list of ways to kill people in The Sims.
Oh no, absolutely. Well, no, it's not even just a list of ways to kill. It's the most creative ways. The things that bring out your existential darkness the most. Like, people are artistic with the way they kill things in Sims.
Is it worth searching this on YouTube? Because someone would have screen grabbed it, I'm sure.
Oh my God, there'll be compilations of Sims. Absolutely. And even like, if we joke about it, it's hilarious, but I do think that is another interesting avenue in games of, like, it lets you explore these kind of darker parts of yourself. Yeah, well, and that's the theory of watching horror, right?
Yeah.
You watch horror, so it takes you to a dark place while we are still safe. Whereas games, you can actually perform these acts. I mean, this is actually something that's probably worth having a chat about. The gaming's got this strange issue of, it's very hard to police the games that get made and the games that get sold, because the platforms that distribute them, like Steam, have famously hands-off approaches to moderation.
Right.
So there was a game that came out, I won't say its name, but it was a nightclub massacre simulator.
Right.
After the nightclub massacre, it was you go into the game and you massacre a nightclub full of people who are very clearly gay. And then in the wake of the school shootings in America, there were school shooting simulators. There's another game where you go to Africa to et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So these games get made a lot, and they get sold and they get bought because the companies that distribute them are multinationals, and they say, look,
Is it a company that's making these, or is it like an individual that's selling?
It's an individual that then will go on to... It almost comes down to the Facebook platform or publisher debate.
Yeah.
And it becomes the same thing with gaming platforms.
Yeah.
So there's a marketplace called Steam where you can upload your game, and they're like, hey, we're just a place for you to express yourself. We're not going to police free speech.
Yeah.
And I think video gaming has got a long way to go in that sense of... obviously we're not going to solve it right now, but it's it's a hard one.
That is, that's that nightclub one. That's particularly...
It's absolutely disgusting, and it got promoted by a lot of far right figures in America. Of course it did. And I think that gaming has got there's almost that defense to some people's minds of, but it's just a game. It doesn't matter. If you made a film about that, people would get up in arms faster.
Yeah.
But since gaming still has that lingering struggle for legitimacy,
that's right.
People might be like, you can make a little massacre game, that's fine. It's just pixels on a screen, and the effects of it aren't. So it's dark, but I feel bad. No, I feel bad we're getting to the dark place of video games. They're generally amazing.
They are generally amazing. And James, you found 10 of the gayest...
10 gay video game characters.
Do you remember them?
Crash Bandicoot, Sonic.
Yeah.
Sonic, he's always running. He's running away from his sexual feelings for Tails.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Lift that tail for me.
That's right. Who else did I have? I'm trying to remember.
Well, there's Knuckles, 5 Knuckles deep, 100%.
That's right.
How many do you want? Come on, let's go.
I wanted to hear the 10, but that's all good.
There was Waluigi. Anyone heard of him?
No.
Waluigi is 100%. That's why. I think he's
Who's
just
Waluigi?
Waluigi is the evil version of Luigi. So there's Wario, who is like Bizarre World Mario,
Right.
and then there's Waluigi, who is just this skinny, terrifying sexual deviant, who is kind of this like icon online of like people love drawing like thick Waluigi and like sexy Waluigi, and like it's just this internet meme now that Waluigi has this astonishing ass. Like,
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
video game subcultures are so good. Like,
Yes.
gaming can be this reservoir for the worst of the internet, but it really can be a reservoir for the best of the internet sometimes. So was your number one Crash Bandicoot?
Yes.
What was it about Crash Bandicoot that gave you that set your
Gay
game off
feeling.
so strongly?
I think I just wanted to annoy the gamers who would get
defensive.
Yeah, because gamers get so mad about everything. I'm a gamer. I love playing games, but oh god,
That's true, and I wonder about this though. Do you think? Because I almost feel like the term game is a little bit reductive. Like it's kind of just like saying the internet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like gamer kind of gets
Yeah.
used as this
Yeah.
term to it, but I don't think there's any connective tissue between all of gamers
No.
except that they play video games.
Yeah.
But you're basically just talking about the internet's bad.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
if I was to say I'm going to play a video game, for me, to be honest, it would either be a cricket one or a motor racing one.
Oh God, Dan, let
So-
me help you.
yeah. Come on,
Or an
man.
America's Cup Simulator. They're really fun too.
I can't imagine anything worse than an America's Cup simulator. I struggle watching the real thing.
I'll lend it to you. You'll be transfixed and falling asleep within minutes. What games do you play?
Crash Bandicoot, and I
It was my sexual awakening.
Is it because you're in love with Crash
Are
that
you
you got
just
number
saying,
one?
is this your top 10, just a top 10 wish list of characters that you wish you could date? Like, and you can be honest.
he's always collecting gems. Gay people love crystals,
That's
right?
true.
Think
Yeah,
about
bling,
it.
bling.
no, you're right.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. But that's only
well,
four.
The Last of Us is a great game with a lesbian protagonist, but
That's actually a good call. I forgot to mention that. Like, The Last of Us is one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, and the second playable lead in that, Ellie, is comes out as a lesbian. And it's what I like about it is that it's not a central part of her character. They're not like, here comes the gay character.
Yeah.
Everybody put it on the box so we get the rainbow tick.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost revealed in a throwaway line.
Yeah.
And it's in no way the definition of her character. But what's funny about her coming out was that the developers separately got in hot water because she looks exactly like Ellen Page.
yes.
And so everyone was like, you've just taken her likeness without paying Ellen Page to do it.
Gosh.
And so they were like, no, it was genuinely just a coincidence. We just made the game, and she just came out looking like this. We're really sorry. And then the day they released the part of the game where she came out as gay, Ellen Page also came out as gay. So they were just like, are you kidding? God damn it, Ellen
That
Page.
is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost too good to be true, but I'll believe you.
No, you can trust me, all right? I'm
Okay.
a professional at this,
Yeah.
knowing obscure, useless video game facts, all right? I don't have many practical skills, Dan.
What platform do you play on? Like,
So I've got a PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, which is the latest Nintendo model, and I have a PC. I don't have an Xbox anymore, but I have bought most other Xboxes. It's just because there's no... In the current video game market, there's no reason to buy an Xbox. Sorry, Xbox. Because everything you can buy, you can get everything on the other
everything else,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, and that's what I mean. Like I was saying, how game is kind of a reductive term. Like, 70% of the country games in one form or another. Because if you think about it, playing Spider Solitaire on your computer, or your dad playing Spider Solitaire
Yeah.
on his computer, he's a gamer, technically.
Yeah.
Like, in the same Candy Crush, gamers. Like, so I feel like the image of a gamer as this,
Is-
basement
yeah,
dwelling,
completely.
weedy boy is hopeless. I mean, 49% of gamers are female. Like, it gets.
and that's a fact that a lot of people forget when they try and paint the picture of a troublesome gamer.
Exactly.
That, you know.
And what I think in gaming is a very useful scapegoat when you're trying to deflect from more systemic issues. So when there's gun violence in the States, they'll always trot out, well, he played a lot of video games.
That's right.
It's like, yeah, well, maybe sort out your gun violence problem.
Yeah.
Sort out the fact that he's got guns in the first place.
Then
Exactly.
you can't.
So I
yeah.
think video games have struggled with that legitimacy and their identity as being a easy scapegoat for deflection from other issues.
Yep.
And that sucks. And I think that's coming right now, but gaming's had its huge financial momentum. It's still having it. It's become this huge, massively profitable industry, and it still hasn't been quite recognised as a genuine form of expression or artistry. Yeah, and that's where the catch-up needs to happen.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. When you look at the amount of attention like Hollywood gets and movies get, and that's a smaller industry.
And the smaller industry, but I think Hollywood is better at portraying, it's not perfect by any means, but portraying a diversity because it gets critiqued seriously.
Yeah.
Like, gaming doesn't get critiqued seriously because it's not taken seriously enough. It is taken seriously by a lot of great people. But in the broad mainstream, if it was taken more seriously, games would be forced to be better. And that's why I think we have some of these issues like we do with Ubisoft, etc. So I just think that's chicken or the egg situation almost.
Tell us about your podcast.
So my podcast, NerdsPlus, you can find it where you find this wonderful podcast. It is me and two other people from the newsroom, Jordan Frost and Camille Amelong. We basically sit down each week, break down the latest and greatest and all the stuff that you wish was on the 6 p.m. news, but you'll never get to see Sam Hayes talking about games, I'm sorry. So we'll go through all of the issues of the week, and also each week we set each other media homework. So we set each other some ludicrously specific niche piece of media, force the other two hosts to consume it, and then we have an argument about it on the next week.
Amazing.
It's a lot of fun. Please tune in. We would love to have you.
Sounds so good. We're going to talk to James Mustapic now, who has outed himself as a gamer.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite game?
I really love playing Zelda. I've got
Correct.
Yeah. And it's Super Mario Galaxy is a great game.
Right.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
When Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask got announced, I was so excited I ran in circles until I passed out.
Oh my gosh.
I think I was about 10.
It was probably like 10 days ago.
It 100% was 10 days ago.
James, you've got a show coming up.
Yes.
Tell us about it. I'm very excited.
Cool. It's called The Blair Witch Projector, and it's about a haunted projector who's trying to ruin my show.
I wondered where the tie-in would be. Yep.
Yes, and I'm facing my darkest fears and repressed memories to find out the origins behind this scary demon.
Give us one of these fears. Give us a tease for the show.
Well, I talk about not being able to drive a lot.
Neither can I.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's a gay part. Yeah,
it is. You were talking about repressed memories. You've obviously done quite a few videos on YouTube that are amazing. The Sensing Murder one, Shortland Street Scandal back in the day, which is where I first started seeing your comedy and was just obsessed with that YouTube channel. Tell us about some of the other ones you've done.
Cool. I did New Zealand Idol. I talked about that. I talked about Sticky TV.
Yeah.
I love talking about...
An icon of television.
Yes. I love talking about Drew Neemia any chance I get. And Aaron Simpson as well.
Have you met Drew Neemia?
No, he really hates me.
Oh, really?
But Aaron...
Why does he hate you? What happened?
I've just made fun of him too many times.
Yeah.
But, the Aaron loves them. She's a big fan of my vids, I think.
Yeah.
But the Sensing Murder ones are fun to do.
And Harry Warner from Shortland Street is your other big love.
Yes. I'm so sad he's gone from the show. Didn't he have a baby?
He did. He had a baby with Mei Ling in China.
Hold your hand in mine, Harry Warner, it'll be divine. Harry Warner, we can drink some wine in a sauna. I love your freckles, I love your ginger hair. I love that your dad is a billionaire. Harry, I wanna be a part.
It's incredible. I'm so sad I missed that.
He came back for like one episode. I thought, he's back. But then, no, he disappeared again. We could talk about Shortland Street for ages. James even did a song about Harry Warner.
That's right.
Which I'll probably play a bit of right now. But why did you do all that stuff?
The song or
just
everything?
in general? I mean, you did so much amazing Shortland Street based comedy.
Thank you.
Like, where did it just come from being obsessed with the show?
I think I was living in Dunedin. I was very bored with my sad life. And I loved watching Shortland Street. I got so addicted to it. Yeah. And my mum and I would just watch every episode. And I used to do YouTube videos from a young age. And then, I just I was obsessed. And because I didn't have many friends in Dunedin, I was like, yes.
Your friends were Leanne
yes,
and Damo.
Yeah. And Drew Neemia.
What's funniest about Shortland Street, to your mind?
I think I most enjoy it when they're not trying to be funny, because now they've got like a lot of comedic element, which I still appreciate, but it always kind of makes me cringe because I'm like, oh, they're trying to they'll make Leanne say like something like,
or what's his face getting out his telescope and saying, Uranus is hard to track down.
Yes.
Or it's hard to put
amazing.
It's hard to put a finger on Uranus.
Yes.
Things like that.
Yeah, and I do enjoy that. But I think
because it comes out of nowhere and you're like, what did they just say?
Yes. But I think it's funniest when they're like, because they have to write so many episodes. It's like the fastest turnaround of any show in the Southern Hemisphere or something like that. Yeah. Something like that. But when they're like, the storylines are just terrible and you know that they're
absolutely
trying to make it good.
I love it when you can tell a show is almost written by a sentient bag of cocaine. Like, it's like when you can tell it's just like they're deep in their 10th or whatever season and they're just throwing whatever they can at the wall to hope what's there. They're just like, guys, we're going to get out of here in like 15 minutes. Okay, whatever happens. Okay, someone just burst through the wall. Someone's on fire. I don't know, they get cancer.
That pretty much describes the cliffhanger for last year, which was probably the darkest and weirdest and most disappointing cliffhanger, I think, actually. I thought it was a bit everything that could go. Chris Warner became a pilot. Who knew he could fly?
Oh, amazing.
And then he crashed.
Yeah.
So, back to your show.
Yes.
Where is it? When is it? And tell us more about it.
It's at the Q Theatre Vault. It's 8:30 p.m. on 21st till 25th of May.
Yeah.
And it's
Is it just you?
Yes, it's just me.
Do you find that difficult?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I find it very stressful, but I'm getting more into it as I do more gigs and things.
Because you come across as quite a shy person, but when you're on stage, that kind of comes across as well. But you're obviously very comfortable talking to an audience.
Well, I'm not that comfortable, but yeah, no, I am quite shy. But it has become easier the longer I do it.
Yeah. Did you think when you were back in Dunedin though that you'd end up doing stand-up comedy, or did you think you'd end up working in videos or something?
No, I never thought I would do stand-up, but then I moved here and I met lots of comedians and stumbled upon it.
And what was it like the first time you did it?
It was so stressful. I was like the whole day, and before that as well, I was just so nervous, so stressed out. But yeah, it slowly gotten better.
Were you on a massive high after you'd finished the first show, or did it kind of tank? Or
I usually just get like sad and tired because I think I like so much adrenaline or so much stress from it all. And then,
what kind of reaction do you get from audiences? Like, have you had a night where just no one is into it?
Yeah, it sometimes happens, but mostly it's good. I mean, I usually talk about being gay, and I think that's kind of like they enjoy it these days. You know,
the heterosexual audiences.
Pretty. Woke, I guess. Yeah.
Don't use that word.
But yes, so it's good.
What's that like? Sorry, as a gay comedian, when you're making those jokes on stage, like, is there a line for you of being like, well, I don't want to just do jokes at like the expense of that part of my identity, or like I don't want to get seen as, oh, he's the comic who does gay stuff, or like the same way some comics like, I just don't want to make jokes about my race, etc. Like, is that kind of a consideration?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's like there's a battle, and I think both sides. I'm like, part of me, it does feel like I don't want to just do jokes about being gay, but then also I'm like, it is a lot of my life, and it is kind of
and there's so many funny stories to tell.
Yeah, it's like a unique perspective that, like, you know, most comedians don't have, and it's I'm always thinking about, even if it's not directly gay, I don't know, but
I know
a gay angle on it,
because like Frickin' Dangerous Bro, they're great. Those great comedians. I saw them speaking about, someone asked them, oh, you're doing a lot of race comedy, and they were like, well, to us it's just comedy. You're putting that on us, like that's something that white people put on or straight people put on, being like, oh, you're doing a lot of gay jokes, you're doing a lot of race jokes. And it's like, well, actually from our perspective it's just comedy, which I thought, and I'm so guilty of that as well. And then when they pointed that out, I was like, oh my god, that's completely what I'm doing.
Totally. Yeah, because there's so, like a straight man would do a joke like, I had sex with my wife, or like, I went here to, I went on a date with my wife, and that wouldn't be seen as straight comedy.
Yeah.
But if I said like, I went on a date with a guy, or I had sex with a guy, it becomes like gay comedy rather than just like
life.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, anything that diverts from the heteronormative sort of say gets labelled quite quickly as, oh, well, that's other, right? Okay, cool. This is very exotic. Marianne, look at us going and watching a gay comedian.
Yes. Where do people get tickets from?
comedyfestival.co.nz or Q Theatre website.
Cool. I'll be checking it out. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Nice to see you in your Merry Christmas jumper.
Yes.
Very topical, very seasonal.
Midwinter Christmas almost.
That's right.
If you want to get in touch with us, there is the Facebook group. Just search News Hub Podcasts. You can email the Outlook at mediaworks.co.nz, or you can leave us a message on 0800 002 898. Until next time, goodbye.